All right, first question is a super chat from David, a big friend of the show. David, always appreciate you. You get a super chat, meaning you get the very first question. Could Hasty carry the load of a starter this week, 10-plus touches? Hasty's going to get more touches than he has the entire year. I think he's gotten 4 or 5 touches so far this year, maybe 6. It's less than 10 on the year so far. So trying to ease him in there as really the number 2 running back right now in this offense because Jeff Wilson Jr., Tevin Coleman, and Raheem Mostert are all injured. 10-plus is a lot. I don't know if they want to give him 10. But he obviously is the second running back, and so if McKinnon is struggling, I would give the ball to Hasty and just see what happens. The reason they're not giving him a lot of touches is not because he's incapable. It's that rookie running backs, especially late-round draft picks, tend to be fumble-prone players, and they do not want to turn the ball over early in these games. And so I think he would be fine, and I would do it. But at the same time, I think that the reason they haven't given him all these touches is because he's a rookie, and they're worried about fumbling issues. I mean, Zeke and the Cowboys, not a rookie, but still – 2 big fumbles doomed them last week, and they want to stay away from that in San Francisco. Another super chat from another friend of the show, Justin. What's up, Justin? Hope you're having a great Thursday night. He says the Niners trade Dede Westbrook, the former Sooner. Pettis and a 6 for him. Both get a fresh start. I love Dede Westbrook. I covered him while I was at Baylor. He was at Oklahoma, an absolutely fantastic player. I just don't know if the Jags would take Pettis and a 6 because Pettis has done nothing this year. I mean, Pettis was a healthy scratch. I mean, Pettis is – it feels like his career in San Francisco is going way downhill. So unless you want to revitalize his career, then maybe you trade for him. But I don't know if a 6 gets it done. Maybe Pettis and a 4th for Dede Westbrook. Dede's not that great. But still, I don't know if a team wants to take on a receiver who can't even get going in the Kyle Shanahan offense when there are a lot of other injuries. So I would be down for it. I just don't think Jacksonville would go ahead and do it. Bang Bang Nordy Gang says, do we trade for Will Fuller? Okay, I talked about this a couple of days ago. The report is Houston is going to be sellers at the trade deadline. Now, I hear this and I go, okay, I know they need cap space and draft picks, but they still have a young core to build around. They have a young offensive line, obviously a young superstar quarterback in Deshaun Watson. They're going to go for the Eric Bieniemy sweepstakes, as most teams that need an offensive-minded coach will do. And so why trade everybody? Now, if they are going to be sellers, then Will Fuller is definitely a guy you look at, a big-time deep threat, a player that, to me, in the right offense, a.k.a. Kyle Shanahan's offense, could be a real big-time weapon for San Francisco. The question, as we were going to talk about with every player you guys want to trade for, how much would Will Fuller cost? You heard Kyle Shanahan say they want to keep their draft picks. And if you think about it, this past year, if you wanted a wide receiver, you could have gotten a really good one in the second or third round and who would be cheaper and hopefully on your team longer than a Will Fuller. And so let's say it's a third-round draft pick for Fuller. I just don't know if San Francisco would do that. Now, 4th or 5th, I'm listening. 3rd, it's tough to do, and that's why I don't think Fuller is going to be traded to San Francisco. But if the Texans are sellers, you got to at least make a phone call. There are a lot of good players on that roster. Name a player right now you want the Niners to go ahead and trade for. Maybe it's Will Fuller, maybe it's Dede Westbrook, maybe it's somebody else. Who do you want to trade for? Not sign, trade for. Let me know down below in the comment section. I want to see some names and some options here because there is going to be a lot of action at this year's trade deadline. I'm predicting it right now. A lot of action. Not saying a lot of action for San Francisco, a lot of action overall. I'm curious what you guys think down below. Here's a good question. Do we sign Eric Berry? Berry's just too old. Tart's injured right now. Probably not going to play on Sunday, so I get the idea of needing a safety. I'm sure we'll get an Earl Thomas question thrown in here as well. I'll be honest, I take Thomas over Berry because he's younger and better. Berry's a better teammate, but I honestly don't think they're going to get either one of them. I think they're going to stay clear of the Berry and Thomas sweepstakes because no team is one of these guys, which tells you a lot about their actual playing abilities. Jack says, the 49ers should be sellers at this year's deadline. No, you would not be sellers at this year's deadline. Who are you going to sell? Think about this. Let's just say you were one of the 49er fans. I'm not saying Jack is, but let's say you wanted to tank, right? Get a good draft pick, build for 2021. Seattle is too good, right? That's the mindset here. Who are you going to get rid of? Because you're not getting rid of any of your star players, right? You would keep Mostert. You're keeping your young wide receivers. You're keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, which of these players do you want to sell? I mean, no one's going to want to trade for Richard Sherman, final year of his deal, and also aging, also not healthy. The only player that to me would be sellable is Dee Ford, but his back injury has conveniently basically made him impossible to trade because you're not going to go trade an injured player. He would not be able to pass any sort of physical. So they won't be sellers just based on the fact they can't be sellers. And honestly, at 3-3 with 7 teams going in the NFC wildcard, if this team gets healthy and on a roll, they can definitely be a wildcard team. Skylar Bell says, what do you think of the Jets shopping Quinnen Williams, Falcons, Julio Jones? Thoughts on us giving going for one of them. Also, I feel like we should get rid of D after this year. So first off, yeah, I would get rid of Dee Ford after this year as well. His contract is just too expensive, and I think that they will. That's probably one of those inevitable moves that will happen. Quinnen Williams is kind of whatever. I don't think the 49ers need another interior defensive lineman. Julio's a question I'm going to get a lot. Let's talk Julio Jones right now. I work in Atlanta. I happen to host the Falcons postgame show. It's one of my other jobs, so I'm very well in tune with the Falcons organization. There are rumblings that they could be sellers at the trade deadline, try and trade Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. I'm not buying it. The reason I'm not buying it because you have to give up a lot. This city in Atlanta that I currently live in, they love Julio Jones. They love him. I mean, he is like the greatest Falcon in every Falcon fan's mind for the past 20 years. So to get rid of that player who's still at the peak of his powers, 2 passing touchdowns on Sunday and their first win of the entire season, you'd have to give up a first-round draft pick and probably multiple draft picks, a first, a third, a first, a fourth, a first, a player. And that's just too much for me. If you told me right now the Niners would trade a second-round draft pick and a fifth-round draft pick for Julio Jones, I'm all for it. I would do a second and a fifth in a heartbeat. A first for a guy who is aging and has been banged up the past couple of years, struggles to get into the end zone at times, is a little bit too much for me. And I'm probably in the minority there because I know Julio Jones was great. But the only way Atlanta gives him up is for big-time compensation. The Niners don't want to do that. I don't see them doing that. Plus, Julio's expensive right now. Before we keep going, be sure to check out these 49er face coverings that are on sale right now. Maybe if everybody in Santa Clara wears face masks, as they basically are, the city council will let us go to Levi Stadium to watch the Niners play in person, which they just won't let us do. Why can't we wear this right here? I mean, look at this. This is fully covering all the way down to the neck. Chatsports.com/49 masks. How about 2 of them? One for you and your friend. You could double up. Why can't they wear masks and go to Levi Stadium? I do not understand a limited capacity. Every other stadium is doing them. Maybe you get a mask and then you're able to go ahead and go to a game. If they ever let you go to a game, get one of these official 49er masks because they look great, will protect you. And hopefully the city council people will figure the fact out that Levi Stadium's big, social distance. I don't get it. Chatsports.com/49 mask. Delos Logish says, sell Kwon and a fifth for Ryan Kerrigan. I would love Ryan Kerrigan. Kerrigan has been one of the most underrated pass rushers in the entire National Football League. I mean, he is absolutely incredible. The problem is that we're looking at a guy who it costs a lot because they gave him a big contract. And 2, I don't think the Washington football team wants to get rid of him. I think Washington, in their minds, expects to be competitive next year. If they think that, which I don't know if I agree with that, but if they think that, then they're going to not be sellers at the trade deadline. They're going to try to be adding people to that roster. That way they can make a run in 2021. I honestly am fine with selling Kwon because I don't think he's been that great of a player, but I don't think it'll happen. Pettis and a fifth for John Ross. I would do it, even though John Ross has been kind of Dante Pettis-like. I mean, he's healthy and barely getting any snaps in an offense that Joe Burrow's really been playing well. It's shocking he can't even get plays. So I would do this trade. Pettis and a fifth for John Ross. I don't know if Cincinnati would do this trade. I think they get a little more for John Ross. I think Cincy's holding out for a fourth for John Ross. Giovanni says, Niners extend Barrett because of how well he's playing. Probably. He's playing very, very well. All he has to do is stay healthy. That's all Jason Barrett has to do the rest of the year is stay healthy. If he does that, they're going to go ahead and extend him. Make sure you guys are subscribed to 49ers Report because it's free and nonstop, and we do tons of content almost every single day here on the channel. I'm in front of the camera all the time for you guys, and you guys don't pay a dime for it. You just got to watch the videos, right? Hopefully you guys enjoy them. Turn on your notification bell as well at the same time because that is the best way to be notified whenever we go live on the air, especially if there is a trade or a signing or something like that. We always have it covered here on the 49ers Report. All right, looks like we got a super chat coming in from David. My boy David gets another question in. What would it cost to get Kenny Stills? Ooh, what would it cost to get Kenny Stills? Probably like a third or a fourth. You gotta remember, unless you're trading for Julio Jones, the majority of wide receivers are going to be mid-round draft picks. Think of a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, who was, by all means, still a top receiver for his team in Denver, and they got him for a third, right? So nothing higher than a third. No one's going to give up a second-round draft pick for a mediocre wide receiver. So third, fourth, fifth, whatever it is, it's probably where it's at. What is the biggest 49ers need right now, though? Let me ask you this, because we did the trade deadline, free agents. What's the biggest need? D-line, O-line, wide receiver, safety? Oh, man, for me, it's pass rusher. They need pass rushers. I mean, the injury bug has been obliterating them. But also, I mean, next year they'll be fine because obviously Nick Bosa will be back. So it's tough. Let me know what you guys think, though, down below in the comment section. Angel Mendoza says, not sure if we already mentioned this. Think about the Jordan Willis. Okay, so I talked about it a little bit, but I'll mention it again. This is a non-2020 impact trade. Let me just explain what that means. Final year of his deal. This is a later round draft pick out of Kansas State, I believe. Never did much with the New York Jets. You see his stats right there. He has the physical abilities to make you go, well, could you mold him into something? But he has way too much raw talent. So my guess is San Francisco said, We like this guy. We like what he saw on tape. Let's bring him in. Let's put him to work, see if we can mold him into something. If we're able to, we'll re-sign him in the offseason and make him an actual 49er for the next couple of years. Final year of his deal, he's making like $800,000 a year, and so it's not like they sign him. If he doesn't turn out to work, it's not a bust because you're basically paying very, very little, the way draft picks pan out. So it's a low-risk, high-reward play, but I don't see this being any sort of like, he's going to start on Sunday or start the next couple of weeks. He'll be rotationally kind of placed in there. I think they're trying to teach him a lot of stuff and hope he can figure it out quick enough the way they re-sign him in the offseason. But again, it's almost a nothing burger in terms of a trade. It just doesn't do much.